The wind howled across the New Mexico plains like a wounded animal the night the two Apache sisters appeared at Ethan Cole's ranch, their silhouettes thin and unsteady against the burning orange of a dying sunset, dust clinging to their buckskin dresses, eyes sharp with fear and pride in equal measure. And Ethan, lonely, hardened by years of drought, loss and silence, watched from his porch with one hand. Resting on the rifle he swore he'd never need again, because out here strangers meant trouble and Apache women traveling alone meant something had gone terribly wrong. The older sister spoke first, her voice steady but cracked at the edges, explaining they had fled their band after refusing a forced union, arranged by a rival chief, that soldiers were sweeping the land, and that night would bring wolves, men or worse. And as she spoke, Ethan felt something stir inside him, pity tangled with bitterness, because this land had taken his wife in, childbirth and his child with her, leaving him with a house too quiet and a heart too sharp. And when the younger sister asked for shelter, not as a plea but as a challenge, Ethan hesitated, the past whispering cruel thoughts into his ear, thoughts born from loneliness rather than evil, and before he could stop himself, he said the words that would haunt him forever, his voice low and rough. "I'll give you shelter, but only if you'll be my wives tonight." And the world seemed to freeze as the sisters stared at him, the younger one bristling with anger while the elder's eyes searched, his face not for lust but for truth, because among their people, words carried weight and tests were often spoken in cruel shapes. And after a long silence, the elder sister asked, quietly, if his demand was born of desire or despair, and that question cut deeper than any blade, forcing Ethan to see himself clearly for the first time in years, not as a survivor, not as a victim, but as a man standing at the edge of becoming something he despised. And in that moment, the younger sister spat on the dirt and turned away, declaring she would rather die under the open sky than live under a man who bartered safety for dignity, while the elder remained, not agreeing, not refusing, but saying they would stay on the porch until dawn and accept whatever fate the night brought, because honor, once surrendered, could never be reclaimed. And Ethan stood there long after they sat down, the wind whipping around them, memories flooding back of his wife's kindness, of the promises he'd broken simply by surviving, and slowly, painfully, he understood that what he had offered was not a bargain, but a confession of his own brokenness. And with a voice heavier than before, he told them to come inside, that no such price would ever be asked, that his words were a test he himself had failed. And inside the house he gave them blankets, food, and silence. And as the fire crackled and the sisters finally slept near the hearth, Ethan sat awake till morning, realizing this night was not about shelter or marriage or fear, but about the moment a man either falls forever or chooses to stand again. And as dawn crept over the plains, painting the sky with gold and blood, he knew the choice he'd made would bring consequences far greater than he could imagine, because among the Apache, mercy was remembered, dishonor was challenged, and a single night could change the fate of many lives. And if you want to know what happened when the sisters' people learned where they had found refuge, when warriors rode at dawn, and when Ethan was forced to face judgment not with weapons but with truth, then make sure you stay with this story, because Chapter 2 reveals how one decision made in darkness echoed across the land. And if stories of honor, sacrifice, and unexpected redemption move you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the next chapter will change everything.